is the summer of 1683. The Ottoman Turks have invaded Europe and are besieging Vienna. They are just a few days away from conquering the capital of Austria. But then, on the horizon, the winged Hussars arrive on the battlefield. Here, they lay the biggest cavalry charge in the history of mankind. The winged Hussars unleash havoc upon the disciplined Ottoman janissaries, and Christian Europe is now safe from the Ottoman threat. The winged Hussars were the deadliest cavalry in the history of mankind. They won the most battles, even when outnumbered by their enemies. The sight of the winged Hussars alone inflicted great fear in the hearts of their opponents. So deadly were they were given the nickname the Angels of Death, because of the great wooden frames they carried on their backs. These frames held eagle, ostrich, or goose feathers, giving the impression of great and formidable wings. The heavy cavalry with wings charging at full speed was a shocking sight for their enemies. They also protected the riders' backs during the battle from sabres and lassos. Additionally, they were crafted in a way that when the riders would charge into battle, the feathers would make a piercing rustling sound which would scare the enemy's horses. The winged Hussars were truly an elite unit. It took years to master the winged Hussars' way of fighting. Being a great Hussar meant great social prestige. Their morale was high, and one of the reasons they won, even in the most arduous of circumstances. In the 17th century, nobody used cavalry as shock troops anymore. Infantry with firearms and spears about 5 meters long meant the age of knights was now over. Yet the winged Hussars still thrived on the battlefield. But how did they do this? Simple. If infantry had 5 meter long pikes, then the winged Hussars would simply use 6 meter long lances. Medieval knights had short lances since their lances were very heavy, but the Hussars solved the problem of short spears by using hollow lances. These lances were light, but somehow the Hussars made them even harder to break, despite being hollow. The Hussar lance was the key reason for their successes on the battlefield, and there are reports to this day of one single Hussar impaling up to 6 Russian or Turkish soldiers in one go. They carried also a great sword, plus a sabre, and 2 sets of pistols. Some winged Hussars used battle axes and warhammers also. They protected themselves with great armour made of steel, which though very durable was light, weighing just 15 kilograms. For riding, they used light Turkish saddles. The lightness of their attire allowed the Hussar horses to gallop at great speed for long distances. The Hussars used a special breed of horses, which they bred themselves, and were a cross of Polish and Tatar horses. They were famed for their endurance, speed, and maneuverability. They could carry a rider with full equipment for over 100 kilometers. The Polish king forbade selling the Hussar horses upon penalty of death. A fast-moving cavalry was a difficult target for musketeers. The firearms of the time were not precise, and additionally, the musketeer found it difficult to hit a rider in loose formation. The musketeer had only one excellent shot just before the impact of the Angels of Death would come upon them. Only wealthy nobles could afford the Hussar equipment and the horses. For example, just one winged Hussar horse was of such incredible stock that it was worth more than an entire Polish village. The Hussars originally came from Serbia, a country in southeast Europe. But the Ottoman Turks defeated the Serbs at the Battle of Kosovo in 1389, and the Serbian mercenaries offered their services to the Polish and Hungarian lords of the time. This gave them the opportunity to take revenge on the Ottomans and kill many of them. King Stefan Batory of Poland reformed the Winged Hussars in 1570. They became an elite heavy cavalry unit, equipped with weapons and armour. Besides the famous Battle of Vienna in 1683, the Winged Hussars won most of the battles they fought. In 1610, at the Battle of Kloshino, 5,000 Winged Hussars defeated the Russian army of 35,000 soldiers. They won despite being outnumbered 7-1. In 1621, at the Battle of Choshim, 45,000 Poles repelled an invasion of 170,000 Ottoman Turks. The Poles entrenched themselves and the Ottomans laid a great siege. However, the Winged Hussars' counterattacks were devastating to the Ottoman army. On one occasion, just 600 Winged Hussars charged against 10,000 Ottoman. They broke their lines and drove the Ottoman Janissaries back to their camp. Their most impressive feat, perhaps, was in 1694 at the Battle of Hadriens, when 400 Winged Hussars stood up against 40,000 Crimean Tatars and defeated them single-handedly. The Poles nicknamed the battle the Polish Thermopylae, after the great Greeks, the 300 Spartans that took on an army of 10,000 Persians. The end of the Great Hussars' glory came a few years after their greatest victory at the Battle of Vienna. In 1702, at the Battle of Plzeň, the Swedish army destroyed the Winged Hussars. The Hussars' opponents began using so-called Frisian horses. These were not actually horses, but were spiked obstacles that stopped cavalry charges. Also, by this point, firearms had improved enough that they would cause great damage to the horsemen. From then on, the Winged Hussars took part only in ceremonies. They even got a new nickname, the Funeral Soldiers. Finally, the Polish Parliament abolished them in 1776, but to this day, they remain the greatest cavalry of all time. And the Polish people, to this day, revere them the same way that the British people revere things like King Arthur, the legendary man of the Holy Grail. So there you go, there's your history of the Winged Hussars.
Whoa, dude.
That's epic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Proper epic.
Yeah, man. Those guys seem crazy. Off comes the helmet.
Off comes the helmet, and on comes the headphones.
What's up?
But yeah, that was a lot of fun researching them. And cool, yeah.
Had you heard of them before?
I had heard of them, yeah. I had heard of them, but like I only knew basic facts. I knew that they were Polish. I knew that they were like you know, the Poles were like really
proud.
Like to this day, yeah, very, very proud of them, and I knew that they were considered like the greatest cavalry of all time. But obviously, like I didn't know like the in-depth knowledge or about like the thing that I'd heard about them before I researched them was that we basically everyone in Europe single-handedly had to thank the Polish and more in specifically the Winged Hussars, because otherwise the Ottomans might have conquered like all of Europe and Britain. I remember hearing that. So yeah, it was a friend of the pod, our good friend of the pod, Patrick, who requested us talking about the Winged Hussars. Patrick being a Pole himself, so cheers for that, Patrick. It's always cool to talk about awesome stuff, and yeah, it was great looking into the Winged Hussars and talking about it. You know, I think the Polish people in general have like a proud history in terms of like their fighters. You know, they've got quite like a gritty history. You know, whether it's like going back all those hundreds of years to all of their great battles against like, you know, Russians or Ottomans, and then obviously right through to like things like the Second World War. Obviously, it was because of the Poles that were invaded that made Britain enter the Second World War, and a lot of Polish people, not a lot of people know this, But a lot of obviously the Battle of Britain is a very famous battle, like the aerial battle between the RAF and the invading German forces. Because by that point in the war, Hitler wanted to invade Britain. I can't remember what the operation was called. It had a name. But Hitler wanted to invade Britain, and but they knew that they had to win the battle by the skies, to start thinking about getting ground troops in. And obviously Britain ended up winning the Battle of Britain, but a lot of the fighter pilots that fought in the Battle of Britain were actually Polish. Okay. So a lot of Polish people managed to escape to Britain when Poland was invaded by the Nazis. And yeah, I can't remember what the numbers, but we'll be able to get it up, actually. We'll be able to look it up. I'll get it up during like the next track, like how many Polish like air fighters there were during the Battle of Britain. But there was like a lot of them. And apparently, like, they were like excellent fighter pilots. So I've always had a lot of respect for the Polish people. Also being, I'm a big fan of strongman. And some of the greatest strongmen are Polish. I'm a real big fan of this guy at the moment called Maciej Kiliakowski, who unfortunately has had like some injuries in the last couple of years. I know he like tore his tricep. But for anybody that's also into strongman, into their weight training and stuff, Maciej Kiliakowski is one of the greatest strongmen on the planet. And he's like a cool guy, like just trains in the snow and everything like that. Like, so
hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, 145 Polish
fighters.
Pilots.
Yeah. Does it say like compared to how many actually British ones there were? Because I think it was like almost like about the same. I think there was, from my memory, I want to say that there was almost like as many Polish people.
I'll look that up as well.
Yeah. Because there was like several different countries. I know that there was like a couple of, there were some like Jewish fighters, and there were some, a lot of Polish ones. Obviously, there were a lot of British ones as well, fighter races. But yeah, I said they got a proud history, the Poles. And I consider the Polish people in general a friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
You're listening to Pandora's Box anyway.
What's up?
I thought it'd be quite fun to just start off the show today, just going straight into almost like that story
time.
Yeah, story time of the Winged Hussars with the music and everything like that.
Yeah, that sounded crazy, man. Yeah. About like the pot, like having just super long poles to just impale
6 meter long
six,
poles,
and up to 6 people that they've impaled at a time.
Literally impale 6 people at a single like sort of time.
Yeah.
Apparently, like as I said, as soon as like, the Winged Hussars would like arrive on the battlefield, like the enemy forces would just be like be panicking. Yeah, and then apparently if their lances did like break, or if it just got close quarters enough that it wasn't effective anymore, they would just carry like 2 sets of pistols on them, and had like usually at least like a saber, but then either like a long sword or like a long hammer as well. So it would almost be like the lance would break, and then it could just be like. Because obviously in those days you had to reload every shot, but they would have like 4 guaranteed shots. So it would just be like, and then like hand to hand. So it's like pretty cool, man. And yeah, you are listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. I'm your host as always, Mr. Calum Waite. That is my name, in fact. Obadiah Pennywhistle. This week in the studio, once again, we have Mr. Drusif Armstrong. We are going to called Cyclopean.
I am Cyclopean
today.
As you can see from my one big eye. I have 2 small eyes and 1 big eye today.
One massive Jap's eye. Mr. Nathaniel Warren is not with us as a precautionary measure, poor young Bullwinkle, because his father has
contracted
the plague. So we don't think he's actually got it himself, but obviously just to be safe, he's not here this week, just to risk him giving it to us. So we're holding down the fort. I was thinking actually it's quite funny because pretty much all the times, I think like the last time that you were off, the next week he was off.
Yeah.
So it's almost like to restore the balance every single time that one of you are off. It's like the next time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But like last time it was because he caught COVID.
Yeah.
And this time it's because his dad's caught COVID.
It's just doing the rounds, man.
Isn't it? So it's just like
keeping the balance.
It's just one of those things. So like next week we will be back at full strength again. But yeah, you might also be watching us if you're not listening to us on the radio. You might be watching us on the tubes.
On the tubes.
If you're not listening to us on the tubes, then please go on YouTube and type in Pandora's Box podcast. Give us a subscribe. There you can actually see us as well as listen to us. Take in our visages in all manner they come in.
In all their glory.
And witness us in all our glory. You can see our little alien friend in the background, plus our massive greatsword. You can see all the crazy stuff that's going on here in Pandora's Box. But either way, thanks for joining us this evening. We hope that you've had a lovely day, whatever you're doing. We've got some cool topics for you as always. So we've already knocked out of the park really with that Winged Hussars one. So that's a cool topic. But we're going to listen to a track now anyway, and then when we come back, we're just going to chat some more stuff. Who knows what it's going to be this week's? Will we talk about dwarves again? Who knows? You're listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. I'm your host as usual. With Nathaniel in the studio with me this eve, as usual, we have Cyclopean. How's it going then, man? Anyway, you alright? Yeah? Been house hunting recently, haven't you, with your betrothed, Megan?
Yeah, certainly have, man.
Megan LaPrice.
Megan LaPrice is right.
Hey! Yeah, have you been having much luck with that?
No.
No. It's hard to find a good place in today's market.
Yeah, man. I've been searching far and wide, many different places, many different houses.
Yeah.
But it's pretty crazy. Everywhere's so expensive.
Yeah.
But we've put an offer in on a place, so looking at today actually.
You actually are going to go look at a house today?
If the offer's been accepted on our house, we'll find out today.
That's
I'm pretty sure.
Man.
So later on, we shall know if we have a new abode.
That's freaking.
But if not, the search continues, and it's going to be really annoying.
The search will carry on. Fate is all.
Fate, but yes, as you say, fate is all. So we will not be worried if this is not the place. It is not the place.
It is not the place. Breda. Talking of fate is all. We've both finished the latest season of Last Kingdom now.
Oh, so good.
I suppose we can't really give spoilers too much because I don't want to ruin it for anybody that's listening that hasn't watched it yet. But really good at it, man. Really good. I really like that Scottish king, King Constantine.
Hey, King Constantine.
He was such a cool character. And I loved how they got that mixture of him almost just being a brutal Scottish warlord, but also he was pretty sound.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty hearty.
Without sort of giving away obviously spoilers and that, he was quite behind closed doors.
A gentleman.
Yeah, behind closed doors he was but it was almost like he understood. I like the fact that because I think you should be like this. It's almost like he understood that the world is a very political and dangerous place. So it was almost like when he was when he'd be around his court, he was almost deliberately almost a bit crazy. Do you know what I mean? It would almost give the addition of somebody.
I'm a crazy man. You don't want to mess with me.
Crazy Scottish king, almost you're oh man, if you got on the wrong side of this guy, he'd just chop off your willy or something. You know, you don't want that. But then as soon as he was in a position where he was alone with somebody that was,
I can show you my sensitive side.
Yeah, and then it was
you will know I'm a good man.
And then it was almost as soon as he went out the door again, it was just
yeah.
If I were you, I wouldn't talk to me that way, Lord. You know what I mean? Just proper being like that, and then just great on the battlefield there and that. But you know, without giving spoilers, as I said, it was as always. Great season, and they're making a movie now, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah, because this was actually the last season. So
this was the last season.
Yeah, so in the last episode, it almost wrapped up everything, didn't it? But they're going to make a movie, and apparently I've heard that they're going to call it something like Seven Kings or something like that. So I'm thinking which kings are that going to be? It's probably going to be Constantine, Edward, I assume. But then it's who else? Are they going to bring in kings from Francia and then other ones from Scandinavia? Are they going to get invaded by some Norwegian or some Danish king? You know?
So when you say Seven Kings, you mean the movie's going to be about it's going to be one movie. It's not going to be seven movie. It's one.
No. It's going to be one big movie that they're going to make, and I believe it's going to be called something like The Last Kingdom, Seven Kings, or something like that.
That's cool.
Which I thought was pretty epic. One thing I also really liked about this season. And it also just made me think in a way, why didn't they do this from the beginning? I don't know if it's cost or something. But did you know that all the other seasons of The Last Kingdom were shot, I believe, I can't remember if it was Bulgaria or Hungary. I want to say it was Hungary, yeah. Hungary, yeah. Hungaria.
Bulgaria, Hungary.
It sounds almost
the
barbarian version.
Hungary.
Yeah, it was either Hungary or Bulgaria. I want to say that it was filmed.
Okay.
But because of COVID and everything, all of this last season was filmed in Britain. But I almost like watching it. I was almost thinking like, why didn't they just do that from the start?
I didn't notice that it wasn't from the start, you know.
Well, yeah, because obviously it's set in Britain, so the whole reason is like they had to find places. As I said, I can't remember if it was Hungary or Bulgaria. I think it was Hungary actually, but they had to find places that would have looked like it could have been Britain like 1,000 years ago anyway. So it's almost like, well, the landscape in Britain doesn't change that much. Do you know what I mean? Like it would have been pretty similar back then, so why not just use Britain?
Yeah.
But I did think, but maybe. I thought like, yeah, I think it's what's probably something to do with cost. But either way, because obviously they had to
licensing
because of COVID, yeah. But because they had to because of COVID, I was watching it this season. I was thinking, oh mate, it just like everything was like beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think the good thing about Britain as well is like, and for people that probably maybe for people that grow up all their life in like the city or live in like, you know, they're so accustomed to the urban lifestyle, they don't really venture much out into the countryside in Britain or into like the national parks or anything like that, like the areas of outstanding natural beauty. Like maybe they don't realise how beautiful and how diverse like nature is in Britain. But depending on which county you go to, you can find all sorts. You can find just about anything. Obviously, you've got all like you've got amazing beaches in places like Cornwall, but you've also got amazing beaches in places like Northumbria and also like in like Scotland and stuff like that. And then, you know, you've obviously got like the Highlands of Scotland. I've got like amazing nature. But then you've got things like, you know, the Lake District is freaking insane. You got something like the Lake District in like, for anybody that hasn't been to the Lake District, go to the Lake District. Like it is. You don't need to go like to all of these crazy. You don't need to go on like a 9-hour plane journey to find something like amazing. You know, like just go to Lake District in England, in northern England, and just bask in its beauty.
Bask in its beauty. Even those pictures and things that Jake has been sharing. Our friend who lives,
our friend Jake, who's Bullwinkle's middle brother. Yeah, the older than Nathaniel, but he's the middle brother out of. So there's Zuswa the Gold, and then there's young Jacob. And then there's young Bullwinkle.
But yeah, those pictures that he's been sharing, it looks incredible in Scotland.
Yeah, so Jake is from the same county as us, but he's moved to Scotland with his wee lassie Abby.
I would absolutely love to explore those areas more.
Oh mate, we need to. I really want to go on like because we were going to go there for your stag, weren't we?
Yeah.
So you were gonna get married originally when lockdown would have taken place, but because of COVID and you know, other stuff, like you would have had to have a really small limited like wedding, wouldn't you, and everything like that. So you ended up like just cancelling it for now.
And then we spent all our money and we thought, we can't afford to now anyway.
And you went on holiday instead to Croatia, didn't you?
Yeah.
So that was nice.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, there's no rush. And I think if you were going to only be able to have like 15 people at your wedding, and you've got like a big family, haven't you?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, that was like in total as well. It wasn't just like 15 each. That was like in total. So it was like, if you want to have like a wedding with like all your friends and family and all of Meg's friends and family, then it just makes sense to wait, doesn't it?
Yeah, man.
But we were going to go on a stag for your stag. We were going to go up to Loch Lomond, weren't we? We were going to go up to Loch Lomond, and like there was this massive like cool cabin right by the water, and there would have been like kayaks there, and you could have right by these mountains, so you could like hike up the mountains, but then they could like go in the water for like a swim or go for a kayak. Obviously, you'd have to be brave and like the cold water to go for a swim, but I was definitely going to go for a swim. I was just going to like jump in and do that whole sort of thing where it's like 30 seconds of like but then you're like, actually, okay, yeah, no, I'm getting used to it now.
Yeah.
I was also thinking it'd been quite cool if we'd like taken a boat out, and then I was actually sort of planning this. I was planning to let us all go out on a boat, and then I was going to deliberately capsize it. I could just imagine us all going out almost like in a boat and like having a couple of like with like a bottle of whiskey and us all doing like a couple of shots of whiskey and then just like capsizing the boat. That's what my plan was. And then I just thought it'd be really fun until one of us accidentally drowns. Yeah, that'd have been pretty cool. I am a trained lifeguard though, so I would have had to have saved whoever was having trouble. Do you know what I mean? I don't know even like how much of a good swimmer people like Willie are. Our friend Willie. Yeah. Josh isn't a good swimmer at all. I know we talked about it. We'd have splashed about like some wet jimmies. Yeah. I say, are you a confident swimmer? Yeah. I can't remember. I don't think I've ever really like swam with you. I used to do swimming a lot when I was a kiddie wink. Yeah, lots of lengths and stuff, and a few competitions of just when I was like really small. Yeah. Oh right. I love swimming, man. I'd always apparently just look behind me though. I'd be swimming and I'd just be like too interested in what everyone else was like how far are they, and then I'd like lose time because of that. So yeah, man, you don't want to be doing that. But yeah, no, I definitely need to discover
And I've heard about Bothies as well. Do you know those things that are all around the coast of Scotland, like that by just like the coastal like kind of path around Scotland? But there's these Bothies that are just like these stone huts. Shacks that like you can just stay in for free and build a fire in there and things like that. And that'd be so cool to go all around there and explore it.
They've got like a rule or like a law, haven't they? In Scotland?
Like wild camping, you can.
Yeah, like they like you can even they don't have any such thing as like trespassing.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if it's worded like that. But
in the UK and in England, not in the UK.
If you say walk through a farmer's field, he could like get aggro with you and force you.
But also, we're not that wild camping is illegal as far as I'm aware. You've got to be on like specific parts of land that you're allowed to camp on, or that you've got permission from the landowners.
People definitely
in Scotland,
do it anyway,
all of that area with all the Bothies and that's all. You can just do wild camping there.
I love
it's not illegal.
Do you remember I said to you about a year ago, and obviously we hadn't done it yet, but it was like I still want to do it, just haven't done it yet. I really want to walk the whole entire length, like hike the entire length of Hadriens Wall.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe we could just like find whether it's like Bothies or then the odd bed and breakfast. Just obviously because you wouldn't want to have to just like rely on purely the Bothies. I mean, I guess you could find out where they are on a map probably ahead of time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if there would be like enough like along that route.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to do it, like walk, do Hadrian's Wall. I reckon it would just be a really nice way to spend sort of like a week or whatever.
Yeah, I always think that. Like, I've been a bit like going on some massive treks and stuff, but just that thing of like where you walk and then you camp and then you walk and you camp, like almost like a pilgrimage.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was thinking it would do me a lot of good. Like I think
just when you do that and you just go start walking in nature, even if it's a small walk, you just instantly just feel like way more balanced and way more just like rooted in like.
And think how nice, think about how nice the scenery would be, like walking Hadrian's Wall, and also the historical significance, because like obviously the Romans built Hadrian's Wall, so there's like a lot of history. It's a really nice part of the UK. I just thought like it would be, as I said, really good for your mind. Just an excellent thing to do in general, I reckon.
Yeah, the other thing in Scotland is like the things like the Isle of Skye. I can't remember who was telling. It was my friend Toby's girlfriend Manon, actually. She's a French girl, and she was saying that she went to Manon, and she went to Scotland. And she went over to the Isle of Skye, and she was telling me the Isle of Skye.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
Exactly. But I don't know what it is, but there's some kind of like spiral on the Isle of Skye, and it's like in the rocks and stuff, and it's like man-made but like ancient, and apparently it's like super beautiful, like one of these little like wonders, and it'd be so cool to see that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those little isles in like Scotland are amazing, like the Isle of Iona as well.
Oh yeah, the Isle of Iona. I'd love to go to that one.
Amazing significance.
Isn't that the one? The Book of Kells?
Yes, I think that is. Yeah.
From the Isle of Iona.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is. Yeah,
and I remember being in Dublin, and in the University of Dublin, I walked through with someone there.
Yeah,
and the Book of Kells was actually in there.
Was that? I'm not sure if it was who it was written by. Was it written by that like famous priest, like something McCollum or something?
It was by a priest, yeah.
I think McCollum back in those days just meant Calum. So I'm thinking it's like the same name.
It was you.
It was me. It was me in a previous.
And I went down to the Isle of Skye. I headed over to Iona.
Yeah, which is ironic because how much I love that song.
Yeah.
But then
read the Book of Kells today.
Donald was your treasures. Yeah, but I think it might have been written by him. But I know that's the place of significance, because there's a like the church on Iona, and it's like an ancient church, and it's like a really like historic site.
Yeah,
I want to say his name's was something McCollum or something like that.
I remember Emily was saying that
she's been there.
She's been there, and she said she felt this real like just amazing feeling.
It was
when
one
she
of
was
her
there, like a very spiritually significant place.
It was one of her favourite places that she's been. Yeah, she absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and also the Isle of Man as well, talking about beauty, and
obviously the Isle of Man isn't Scotland, just for anybody that might be confused. So the Isle of Man has its own independence, basically. So it has its own government. The Isle of Man has its own government called Tynwald, which is actually the oldest continual parliament in the world, in the entire world, which for a tiny isle is like a really fair play to them, isn't it? But go on what you're saying anyway.
Yeah, just that the beauty that's quite close to you. Like that's still, you still got to jump on a plane, jump on a ferry to get to the Isle of Man. But you've been there a lot as well, and just the amount of like beautiful glens and everything.
Oh man, I've been there probably like, I don't know, like maybe up to like 10 times in my life. But like I still, every time I go, there's like places that I find that I've never been before. I remember I haven't been to all of the glens yet. Do you know what I mean? And all the beaches and things like that yet.
Yeah, I remember seeing like a Viking grave, yeah, and it was like it was the shape of a ship. Yeah, and it's just so cool.
Was that King Ori's grave?
No, so King Ori's grave, we went there as well, but this ship one was literally like the shape of a ship, but you could still see it like kind of coming out of the ground. Yeah. And it was like, like a burial site, but yeah, different from King Ori's grave. But
the Manx History Museum as well is like amazing. Did you go to that when you went?
I saw like the statues of the Vikings outside it and stuff, but I didn't actually go in. No, I was with my mum and that.
Mate, it's amazing. Yeah, they've got like like Viking longships, like legit Viking longships in there and stuff, and like loads of cool artifacts. Do you know what I mean? Like old like Viking spears and that. Because the Isle of Man is like a little Viking isle. It's like similar to like the Orkneys in that respect. So like the Vikings invaded in about 800, and then basically what happened was like the Viking men like almost like killed all of the local Gaelic men, but then got with all the Manx Gaelic women. So originally they would have been like a very similar people to the Scottish, the Manx. They were like Gaelic. So you have like Scottish Gaelic, Irish Gaelic, and Manx Gaelic, and they were obviously Manx Gaelic. And because they had this whole exhibit about it in the Manx History Museum, when it was like, so the Viking men came over, they like went into war with like the Manx Gaelic men, won, but then obviously like they didn't kill the women because they liked the women, so they like integrated themselves, and obviously the women, I guess, were like, well, all these impressive Viking men have come over and they don't mean us any harm. We've got to make the best of it, even though they killed my ex-husband Steve. So they got all with Bjorn instead. And then like so it's like it's even though it's got its Gaelic roots, it's almost like an integration, almost like 50% Gaelic and 50% Viking. So Viking. A very, very interesting place, and great history, really beautiful place. As I said, like amazing beaches, like really beautiful seas there, like almost like Mediterranean looking on a sunny day. But then they got really nice mountains as well, like Snaefell, which just means in Old Norse it just means snow mountain, and Ramsey, which is the reason I've been there a lot, is because my grandfather John Donald was born in Ramsey, which is the northernmost town in the Isle of Man. And Ramsey, apparently, obviously there's been like there's been like a bastardization over the years, so it's changed slightly. But if you go back far enough, Ramsey meant in Old Norse Raven's Isle, and because the Manx, the Vikings are very like descriptive people, aren't they? They usually just call things almost like how they see it, or like something to do with an attribute. So apparently they got off their longships in what is modern day Ramsey, and the first thing they saw were like ravens. So they were like, we're just going to call this Raven's Isle, and then it just became sort of like Raven's Isle. This is our new settlement, Raven's Isle. And then over the years, it just became somehow Ramsey. Like Ramsey. So
nice.
But they got some cool names. It's like one of those places that the names are all cool. They've got like a place called like Onken, Moor,
Douglas. No.
Yeah, there is a place called Douglas. Yeah, but it's like the names almost like sound like something from like Game of Thrones or something. They've got like Moorcold, Onken, as I say, Snaefell. You've got South Barul and North Barul.
Port Erin.
Yeah, Port Erin, Castletown. That's cool, yeah, which is like where Castle Russian is.
Oh, mate, was it Castletown? Like,
Peel?
There was, I went there, and there's like almost this tiny little beach, like just down from the castle, literally full of shells. I've got all of these shells, but they're not like small shells. They're like almost like clam
shells.
How
big was the castle? Because there's a couple of castles.
Quite big. We walked the perimeter of it though.
Was it like a ruin, or was it?
It was like a ruin, but you could get into it, but it was all closed when I went there.
I think you're on about Peel Castle.
Yeah, but down at the bottom, like by the sea, there was literally just hundreds and hundreds and thousands of these like big pink clam shells.
Yeah.
And I took some home with me and stuff, and I've just like got them all in like a plant pot at home now. But it was just one of those things. They all must have just washed up. Just had like a total abundance of that kind of like clam or whatever.
Man. It's amazing. Like they're real famous for their what are they called? They call them Manx Queenies in the Isle of Man. They affectionately call them Manx Queenies. But I'm having like a brain fart. What the hell are they called?
Scallops.
Yeah, but they call them Manx Queenies.
They
call them Manx Queenies in the Isle of Man, and they're delicious. And it's like the same way almost like that you could just come across like an ice cream van in England. They have like little vans just selling like scallops with bacon.
Yeah,
but I've had them on the beach on like a nice cold winter's day.
Oh, scallops with bacon, that sounds amazing.
Oh mate, and you get like a little tub, and they're like nice and hot. And I just remember sitting on the beach on like a bench on like a real nice cold winter's day and just eating these Manx Queenies, these scallops and bacon. Delicious.
Oh, it sounds so good. Yeah, they are scallops. So that's why I've seen it. So the shells that I was talking about, they're scallop shells.
Yeah,
so that would be why there's so many of them.
They're famous for them, and they're really clean as well because there's no industry in the Isle of Man, so the water's very clear. There's it's not having like stuff pumped out into the water like there is in a lot of Britain.
Yeah.
So like the sea there's very clean, and like their quality, they're known for like the best fish and like seafood in like the whole of the UK, pretty much.
One of the gems.
Yeah, I mean I know the Cornish people like are proud of their seafood, but to be honest, the Manx seafood's the best. Anyway, on that note, we're going to listen to a song now, which is from The Last Kingdom. Actually, it was made for The Last Kingdom show, which is ironic because we were just talking about it. This is Liv Strudir by John Lunn and Ivor. You are listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. You may also be listening to us on Spotify or the tubes. If you didn't realise it, we are on Spotify and YouTube, so please go onto each forum and please give us a follow and a subscribe, and then you can listen to all of our bants and all of the stuff that we talk about week to week. As I said, if you're hearing for the first time, we are like a topical show, so we talk about a plethora of topics and subjects, bringing you all sorts of crazy facts, but we also just like have a laugh and just sometimes just shoot the breeze as well.
Shoot the breeze, bro.
Have a general chat.
General chit-chat about things we like.
Who's General Chit-Chat?
Hello, I'm General Chit-Chat.
You're General Chit-Chat. So before Code in Cambridge, we had Fall Into Place by All Them Witches. Before that, The Way You Lived by CKY. And before that, Liv Strudir by John Lunn and Ivor. Before that, we were talking about the Isle of Man and then Manx Queenies. We were talking like in general just about how awesome the UK scene, like
the UK nature scene.
The UK nature scene, baby. Yeah, because I was saying about how like they've had to film the last season of The Last Kingdom in the UK because of like the COVID restrictions and everything like that. And I think previously it had been filmed in Hungary. But as I said, I almost thought it was like especially beautiful like this season, like all of the scenery. And I think the good thing is it's almost like, as I said, whatever you're going for, at some point in the UK you'll find it. Obviously in like Scotland in the winter there's like a lot of snow and stuff like that, so it's like if you need like a proper wintry snowy scene, you can find that, like in the northern England and in the north of England and in Scotland. But then it's like if you want like rolling hills, you have places like like where we live, Somerset. If you want like rolling hills, and there's lots of counties that have real beautiful woodland, ours being like one of them. You've got like decent woodland in Somerset, and I'm sure there's lots of other counties as well that have real decent woodland. There's one that's real famous in Devon, isn't it? Was it called the Wistman's Woods?
Oh, Wistman's Woods, yeah. Really beautiful. All these like craggly old oak trees that are like all just like, but loads of moss all over them, and these massive stones just in the middle of them. You can go and just like sit on the stones and be surrounded by all these trees. It's like so beautiful.
It seems almost like not real, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It seems
it's like a fantasy. Fairy thing, because also as well, because it is massive rolling moorland there as well, and like we got to it from a really different way. So we like came over these hills, and then you could almost just see it in the distance, and it was just like this patch of ancient like weird scraggly oaks on the side of this hill with like like a river at the bottom. And it's like, why is it just there, and why does it not go further? I mean, it's quite small, to be fair, but like when you get down there it seems quite big when you're all in it, but like why just that patch?
Reminds me almost a bit of like Fangorn Forest.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In like Lord of the Rings. It's got that very like almost like when you're in it, it's like it seems really ancient and almost like a bit eerie. But not like necessarily in like a bad way. But it just seems that something seems a bit like the whole place is like under witchcraft.
What spell was brought these trees forth?
Yeah.
In just that place.
It's like when when Legolas goes into it, it's like, these trees are old, very old. It's like that, isn't it? The White Wizard approaches.
Oh man, I can't wait to watch that again.
Haven't they filmed? I want to say they might have filmed all of the new Lord of the Rings series in Britain.
Really?
As well. I think that might be the case, yeah. Because I remember there being some controversy about it, and I remember some people kicking off. I think I saw it on Facebook, and some people kicking off.
Should have been New Zealand.
Yeah. That's what they were saying, and then they were basically like, some people were moaning that we haven't got enough like versatility of land. But I was like, man, did you live and grow up in London all your life or something? Because you do not know what you're on about.
We got some versatilities around here.
Yeah, man. Do you know what I mean? There's like all the different areas of outstanding natural beauty, as I said, all the different, like as I said, you can find somewhere in the UK that will give you anything. Yeah, whether you want beautiful forests.
It's like abundant in green as well. Like that's whenever I've flew anywhere else. Like a lot of places are quite arid, especially in like hotter places and everything like that. You fly into Great Britain, and although there's like lots of cities and lots of that, you see it from above, and it is a green jewel.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, our beautiful little green jewel.
I always think that whenever I go on holiday. As much as I obviously love being on holiday, when I'm on holiday, I'm so busy like appreciating what that country has to offer. So say like two of my favourite places to go, like Greece and Italy, and I love it. And while I'm there, I'm just like loving the sea, and I'm taking in all those turquoise seas, and think, all that like delicious food, that Mediterranean food, whether it's Greek or Italian, and just everything about it is so amazing. But like everything about the climate is different. Obviously, it's sunnier, which is cool. But it's like. When I ever come back into England, I've been so busy focusing on the good things about that country that when I you're on the plane and you're flying back onto British, sovereign territory. The first thing you almost like strikes you straight away if you've been like a week or two in the Mediterranean countries is just how green, as you said, Britain is. Green. Have you seen the Jack in the Green? But yeah, it is like no wonder so many. Forces over like the millennia have wanted to invade Britain because we obviously take it for granted now because we don't need it the same. We don't think of it the same, but it's like what you need to survive is fertile land. Yeah. And you will not find land more fertile than Britain.
Oh, it's got some fertile lands.
It's like it's warm enough that vegetation and plant life thrives, but it's cold enough that it will never die of the heat. Apart from unless we get like some weird sort of like like every now and again there might be a summer where you'll get like a heat wave and then like the grass will die for a few weeks, but it doesn't last long. A couple of like weeks of rain. On and off rain.
And anytime there's any kind of space for, if there's not like buildings and things, it's just abundant green. It's just in any shape or form. Like it's so what was the word you said? Fertile. Oh yeah. That it's just like popping up with.
Yeah, that's one thing. Like you have to maintain like gardens and stuff, and just like nature in general in Britain. You have to maintain it a lot because it just grows like wildfire. Yeah, like whether it's like weeds, vines, whatever, like grass, like things just grow like crazy.
Lots of water in the air.
Yeah, but it's like as I said, it's the perfect climate. We have like good sun. But we also have lots of rain. It's just everything's perfect.
Yeah, I want to do some more exploring, man. That's the thing because like around this Somerset County, lots of Devon and that I've seen quite a bit. But when I was younger, we were in Scotland and up north quite a lot, like
Hartlepool.
Yeah, which is like and Lake District and everything, like you were saying. Like we would go camping all the time in the Lake District, and it was so beautiful. But I almost didn't appreciate it as much as I would now.
It's hard to when you're a little kid.
You're just like, I'm going to go on this tree swing. It's awesome.
Yeah. You're not thinking about stuff in the same way when you're a little kid, are you? In terms of like looking around and being like, this is breathtaking. Yeah. You don't do that when you're a little kid. You're just like,
I'm an all day, yay.
Yeah.
Where's my toys? Gonna find a swing.
Yeah.
But man, yeah, as I said, I really want to explore more of the Lake District as well. But, mate, we need to like sort something out, like go on like a little like 2-week thing, cause
tour.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? We're just like some friends of ours and stuff like that. Because as I said, I really want to go to Loch Long, like we plan to for your stag. But it would also be cool, like maybe like on the way or on the way back to like spend like a day or two in like the Lake District.
Yeah, totally.
Go on some hikes, maybe like swimming some of the lakes. Maybe do a little bit of fishing.
Yeah, I'd love to do some of that cold water dipping.
Yeah, man.
Just get your tootsies cold.
Yeah, you just don't want to flash your crown jewels. Don't flash your crown jewels for a little while afterwards. Yeah, you won't do yourself any justice, man.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it'd be really fun. Yeah, I said I like it up north as well.
Yeah, the people and everything. It seems to be friendlier, like that hardier weather, like brings people a bit closer. Like you have to have that hospitality almost. Yeah. Like
my favourite city in the UK is York,
and I'd love to go there because I've never been there. But Meg's been there a few times as well. And she loves it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like to anybody that's like listening that hasn't been to York. do yourself a favour and just like spend a long weekend in York, because it is amazing. Not only it's one of the most ancient cities in the UK. It's got massive historical significance. Obviously, it was founded originally by the Romans, and it was called Aboricum. And then like it was taken over later by the Vikings, and they called it Jorvik, and that's where we get the name York today. So they spelt Jorvik like J, because in like a lot of like Norse, like J almost is like a Y sound for us, but it was spelt like Jorvik, and then over the years, like Jorvik, you would have been like Jorvik, and then over the years, like a bit like what we were saying earlier about like Ramsey and like Ravens are the sort of like the bastardization of it changed to York, and then just stayed York. But
it's weird in Spain, it's Y, J is Y as well, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah. Like J is.
Yeah. Like a lot of those, like like Portuguese or Spanish. Yeah. But yeah, York can't say enough good things about it. It's got amazing pubs, amazing restaurants. Got the largest cathedral in the UK, York Minster Cathedral, and which is also the second largest one in the whole of Europe. So a mass.
I need to see that.
Oh, it's insane.
I remember you saying about it before, and it's like breathtaking how incredibly it's like an awe-inspiring sight, which is hard to get with buildings nowadays. Because you can see big buildings, but you're almost used to seeing them. But
and like if you go to somewhere like London, you're used to walking past places like the Shard. But to me, I don't know. I'm not really that impressed by that. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't want to like downplay like the effort of like the architect of who made it, and then the actual builders themselves. Be like, oh yeah, anyone can do that. It's not obviously like I'm downplaying that, but I guess it's like because I know it was done in modern days with like power tools and heavy machinery and all that. And it's like it's still not as impressive as York Minster Cathedral, and then to think that was done with like donkeys and men and just hand
That's what I mean. I find all this older architecture and buildings and everything
more beautiful,
so much more beautiful and so much more interesting, and so much more like robust and stuff
also
as well.
more intelligent. The way that they've, the way that in like churches and cathedrals they've all been like designed so like the acoustics are like on point. So it's like the builders have had to work with almost like the architects and almost like the musicians of the day to make sure that it was also an amazing place. Yeah, because they didn't have amplifiers and that.
Yeah.
So they had to make sure that if you were in a massive cathedral, that if you were sat at the back, if you were sat at the back and they were singing like a Christian like Christmas carol or song, whatever, or just some Christian hymn, the person at the back had to hear it the same as the person.
It seems like things, like everything with like culture and just things that are built now and on, like kind of on the production line and stuff. It used to be built to like last, and it used to be built to like stand the test of time,
with pride,
with much more thought and much more presence and all that stuff. But now it's almost like everything is like throwaway. Like I'm seeing them constructing that massive building like by ours, which is going to be like a Scott Cinemas and stuff like that, and it's going up in like a week. It's like nearly all up, and it's like crazy. Like it's very efficient.
Yeah, it's very efficient, but it's like
what's
it going to be like in 500 years?
Yeah, an eyesore.
That's the thing. It's like obviously a lot of old cottages and places that some of them are like it's not uncommon to find a cottage in England or the whole of the UK that's like 400 plus years old.
And I love that. I love. And
some of them are in good nick. As long as they're maintained.
Yeah.
Some of them might need a little bit of TLC when you move into them if you buy a property like that, but in terms of the bones of the place, they're fine. They just need a bit of extra like cement here and there, and a little bit of
tidying up.
Yeah. Maybe a bit of extra plaster in here and there.
That's it. The place we put in for is like this old cottage, and I don't know how old it is, but it's very old, and it's just like
it's got that character.
And that vibe. It's like much better.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude.
It's like crazy. I remember when I was in Peru as well, going up to like Cusco, where it's all of those stones. I was saying to you about it the other day, where they're so Graham Hancock talks about it and everything, about how the precision that went into creating these stones together was like incredible.
How like perfectly
and
round
like, we don't do that now. It's like they were explaining about the process of doing it when I was there. A local guy was like talking about it, like historian, and that it would they would use other stones to almost like sand these stones down by just rubbing stones on stones, but it would take like months to do like one stone.
The patience.
And then and to do that, but that was something that was this huge thing. It was built to last. And I remember, and they were saying that when the Spanish took over there, they they literally just knocked the top down and then like built their stuff on top. But the foundations of what is already there
solid.
are still like all of the Spanish stuff is all kind of falling apart and everything. And it just shows you that like
I reckon part of it is just because they had no distractions. Do you know what I mean? Like obviously back in those days, like they didn't have like computers, televisions.
No, that was all it was. That was your life.
Yeah, they would probably just spend like
you were
all
the
day
stonemason.
They'd have like a mate. They'd have a mate next to you, probably doing the same thing. So you'd be just talking,
but just all day, every
talking
day.
about the stars and hunting and you know your missus, whichever girl you liked, you know, or fella if you're a girl out there listening. And yeah, just doing that. Do you know what I mean? All day long. No like as I said, no distractions. No like thinking of like, you know, any
like simpler.
Yeah,
like
just a nice simple way of life. Yeah, a nice simple way of life. It's funny though. I was thinking, you know, we were talking about like, you know, like up north and that. Like, I don't know if it's like nature or nurture, but I always feel like a little bit more of like a calling to go up north, up north, because we live in like the southwest of the UK. But as I said, I don't know if it's nature or nurture, if it's my personality or if it's my blood. But like, most of my ancestors come from up north, either like the Isle of Man or from Cumbria, which is obviously really far up north. You know, it's like one of the most like northern counties in England. And then I've also got relatives in Scotland, so it's like Scotland, the Isle of Man, and Cumbria, and I always feel like more like a calling to go there, and I feel almost like I always feel like happy when I'm up north. Whereas, say, if I go to London, I'm like not so happy. Yeah, I'm almost like I go there for the benefits of London, which is like obviously you got some like world class restaurants, world class museums, like the the Natural History Museum in London is amazing. It's like an amazing place. In the Imperial War Museum, anything like that, you know, if you're interested in your history, is like amazing to go to. Or you know, it's great to go to for concerts because there's like big gigs there. You know, there's always, you know, the world's biggest bands are always like flying in and out of London, so that's awesome. But like in terms of like spending like day after day there, it's just not for me. Like
lifestyle.
Yeah. If I had to choose between York and London, it wouldn't even take me like a millisecond to respond. You know?
And just like, I remember living like by Hartlepool when I was really young, and so I was less than
talking
11.
about super far up north as well. Like, literally, you've got like Hartlepool, and then if you're like a couple of miles to the north of that, you're like entering Scottish. You're like over the Scottish border by that point. So it's like right on the edge.
Yeah, and I remember just the vibe of the people there.
Yeah.
It was like everyone. There's just this northern friendliness that just comes across in the way that people speak and like, and everything, you know. And it's like, I remember it's so cold but so warm. Like temperature's so cold outside, but the people are so warm, you know.
I think that's almost like, so, you know, talking about like whether it's nature or nurture. I think that one thing that we've both like always shared is like we're very loud and we're like very friendly. Yeah. And that's like, do you know what I mean? It's almost got like nothing to do with how much of an extrovert you are or anything like that. Because I don't think either of us are like particularly extroverted. I think people think we are because of how loud and friendly we are. But it doesn't mean I want to go hang around with everybody all the time. Yeah. It just means that if I walk past somebody in the street, I'm more than likely not. I'm just going to go like, all right, or smile, or go like, hello, or like, good afternoon, nice day. Yeah, you know, like, because to me that's natural. I'm not like I'm not just gonna walk past someone and almost just like stare at the ground or just like look at them funny. To me, that's weird. Yeah, to me that's almost
you get that a lot in the southern England.
But to me, that's just like almost like really weird and almost like a bit awkward. Yeah. To me, I'm just like, well, no, it's just a quick smile and like a you're right. You know, doesn't need to be anything more than that.
It seems like people are like that. Yeah, you know, just generally. I remember you saying it. I've never been to York, but you said that it was just like that in York. People would ask you how your day is and stuff and everything. And
I remember my grandparents telling me. Obviously, my grandmother is from Somerset, and obviously, you know, it's the third most southern, like it's the third most southerly county in the southwest. You know, just beneath Somerset there's Devon, and then beneath Devon there's Cornwall, and Cornwall is literally like the furthest south you can possibly get in the UK. So we're pretty far down south here, and my grandmother had spent all of her life in the southwest. And she was like a nurse in a barracks, in an army barracks in Gloucester. So, you know, still southwest. You know, it's not like she'd gone that far north. But my grandfather was in the army and he was stationed in Gloucester. And that was the furthest south he'd ever been. He'd either spent his life in that point, he'd either been in the Isle of Man or in Widnes. That's where he spent most of his time. And Widnes is like, yet again, same as Hartlepool and Cumbria we're talking about. It's like very far up north. If you look up, anyone listen, look up Widnes, Hartlepool and Cumbria on the map. And it's like, as I said, it's like you go much further north and you're basically in Scotland. It's like all of those three of those places are like near the border. And she went for the first time, like she went up north with my granddad, and apparently it was with my great uncle Ivor, who was also in the army. It was my granddad's older brother Ivor, and they were on the bus, and Ivor was like chatting to everyone on the bus, right? And then apparently like my grandma like whispered to my granddad, and she was like, "How does Ivor know this many people? He's like chatting to everyone on the bus," and he was just like, "He don't know him. He's just talking to him." And my grandma was like, almost like, "What?" But it was like, do you know what I mean? But it's because they were like up north. So it was like my granddad might have been doing it as well, but he was obviously busy just talking to my grandmother because he was like, they were courting at the time. Yeah. But Ivor was there just like chatting to everybody on the bus, making small talk and just, "Hey, all right, lass," and then, and like chatting away, blah, blah, blah.
Friendly
And
Jack.
she was just like, thought that he genuinely knew like everybody on the bus and was just friends with everyone and was thinking like, God, how does he even know this?
It's crazy like being that open, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Just, like, just starting conversations and everything.
But yeah, again, I think that's like nice. I always think it's like really awkward. I remember like, again, talking about why I don't get on in London so much is it's like, it is the antithesis of that.
Yes.
I hate like the amount of times I've been on like the London Underground and it's just been like in a packed train on the London Underground and there's just people all around. And like inevitably when you're in a packed situation like that, people catch your eye and you catch people's eye. And my natural reaction is to like smile and I'll like nod or something like that. And like everyone in London just sort of like looks at you. If you do that to somebody in London, they're more likely than not almost gonna like screw their nose up at you and then just look away. Yeah, like, almost like you're a weirdo.
Yeah,
almost.
Why are you imposing on me like that with your eyes?
Yeah, almost. It's like they're treating you almost like you're like
weird.
Yeah, like a weird. But to me, I almost like I can't stand that. I'm almost like, man, what is your problem? Right? Do you know what I mean? Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like,
gotta have that friendliness.
Yeah, whereas I remember like, when I was in York, it was like the complete opposite of that. Catch a taxi somewhere. By the time you'd gotten out the taxi, even if it was just a 5-minute journey, you'd like know everything about that guy who was driving the taxi. You need to know about everything about you. I remember, literally, I remember that like happened. I only got one taxi when I was in York, but by the time he left, he knew where my great uncle Bill lived in. He knew he lived in Tang Hill, and he knew all about like my family's history. He told me all about his, and he was like telling me about how we used to like be friends with like Noel Gallagher or something like that, like back in the day or something. Do you know what I mean? But it was like so funny, just complete opposite thing. Whereas you can imagine like going in a taxi down here, it's a bit more awkward, as I said.
Yeah, totally.
But
just
like,
silence.
You had a nice evening? Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Not everyone, of course, but like.
But it's crazy because when there's like that openness as well, like it's crazy, like even if you don't know someone, but you get in like a decent conversation with someone, you could have never met them before, but you can almost like go so deep or like have this like connection with them that's just like, it shows you that it's just there's no barriers almost. So obviously you're going to be closer to people, so you get deeper in that. But just if you're open to have a conversation, who knows what could happen, And like it's always like really interesting. And I love that more. Like I feel so much more awkward with just like not doing that, but that silence and stuff. And do you know what I mean?
I remember we went to an event. We went to the Wales versus Italy game, didn't we, in Cardiff on Saturday. And like to do like some work there. And I remember it was like one of the things that was quite nice about it there was that like in between what we were doing was just sort of having like nice, just light-hearted banter with everyone there. Whether it was like as I said, whether it was like the security guards a bit, or whether it was like that lady Sammy who was running the event, or like I don't know if it was like her daughter or not, but there was that other young lady. Do you know what I mean? It was just like having just a bit of a laugh here and there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just having a bit. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just almost being like. Just like standing around like all awkward, like, well, I'm just going to do my job here and just be quiet. Do you know what I mean? We were like having a bit of a joke, and a laugh in between things, and like to me, that's just like that's just like how you should be. Do you know what I mean?
Standard.
Yeah, even you know what I mean, and almost like treating everyone the same as well. Whether it was like when there's like big time like rugby players, whether it was just like one of the bar staff lads who was like fresh out of school, just treating everyone the same and having a bit of a laugh.
I know it's like the more for me, it was say I was doing the filming and stuff like that. When you're there to like do a specific thing, I find that like it takes away that thing of like, oh, that person's a celebrity, or and because everyone is just a human being, and I think I've gone past that now. So kind of everyone I meet, I'll like treat them the same, no matter if they're like a celebrity or like a normal person, and it's so cool to just have that, because it almost takes away like the pressure from yourself almost as well, I think, because if you just treat a celebrity like that, they're going to be able to interact with you in a way that's a bit different than just if you're put like, oh, I'm nervous because I've got to speak to this person. It's like like that.
Man, definitely.
I felt that, because I felt like that then, and I was like, oh, I'm just filming these guys, but these are like famous like rugby players or something, but it's just like so normal, you know, and it's like because you treat it like that, and that's the only thing. It's the only way you think about it that makes it weird, you know.
It was weird though, because like when we left, I remember almost like thinking like a couple of times when we were on the train, it was like, that was like such a VIP event, wasn't it? There was like everybody that was at the event was either like a really successful businessman or woman, like really successful. So there was probably like, you know, a couple of millionaires in there. Either that or like proper like international like rugby union stars, like Welsh rugby legends. And like, you know, current Welsh rugby players, like some of the best Welsh rugby players of like the last 20 years. And we were just like mingling in rooms with all of them. Like, we're not millionaires, and we are not known around the world for being like some of the, you know, great, some of these best like amazing sportsmen or whatever. But yeah, it was just seemed like almost like what was weird to me was how casual it was to me.
Yeah, exactly.
We're there with like young Bullwinkle who's like 18. Yeah, so I mean, he's barely got hair on his balls. And there's just like ballers and like professional sportsmen around us, and we're just chilling there like,
set the paint.
So how's it going? Like being all weird, like dancing around and stuff like that. Yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah, good stuff. Good vibes.
You will listen to Pandora's Box. Oh, that's weird radio, as always. Obadiah Penny Whistle. To the right of me we have Cyclopean, Mr. Drew Armstrong.
I've took my Cyclops off.
Yeah, he's very confused at the moment because your hair's randomly going a bit straight.
Yeah, it's normally real curly and it's just like straight. Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, that.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
But it's strange it is, Terry. It's right strange it is.
Really strange, mate. Really strange. But yeah, we've been talking today almost about like the plethora of climates you can find in the UK. Let's go in there, you know, down like Cornwall. If you're going like on a summer's day, they got like palm trees. And the sea can be like proper turquoisey, can't it? Like that Mediterranean Greek thing that you were saying about earlier. Like not a see-through, but it gets this real like beautiful bluey turquoisey like kind of. And then you got like different. You've got like Bodmin Moor. Oh, Beast of Bodmin Moor, here I come. Yeah, that's a good little legend, isn't it? The Beast of Bodmin Moor. We'll have to have a look at that at some point. I wonder if that's any like based in any like truth, because a panther. Because obviously, like back in the day, it's illegal nowadays to like have like a creature like a panther or a leopard or anything like that as a pet. But it didn't used to be. And then what they reckon, well, what they know happened is that when it was made illegal, I believe in like the 60s. To like have pets, like, you know, so you couldn't just buy a crocodile or buy a monkey or buy like a leopard cub. A lot of people didn't really know what to do with them, so apparently just let them go into the wilderness. So it does like make sense that like maybe there would have been like the odd one that would have survived for a while. But some people like swear down about it, don't they? Some people absolutely swear down, like in like there's like the Exmoor beast as well, isn't there? There's the Beast of Bodmin Moor, and then there's the Exmoor. There's the Exmoor beast. The Exmoor beast. If you go like over in Somerset and you sort of go over to like towards Linton and Lidmouth and into Devon that way, like past Minehead and stuff, there's a museum. Oh, haven't been there. Yeah, and there's like they've got the whole exhibit on the Exmoor beast. I haven't been there either, but I want to go to just because I thought it'd be really cool. We should go there. That'd be cool. Yeah, and it's like nice trip as well, isn't it? You go up. We'll do some Pandora's Box research trips. Yeah, mate. We should actually do that. Yeah, shouldn't we? We should actually do that. Just take like a camera and that, and almost like just go for a little day out and film it, and that'd be actually really cool. Yeah, we should definitely do that. New idea. My mind's just been blown. Day trip out to the Exmoor beast exhibit. I say we can film going up like Porlock Hill and that. It's the steepest drivable hill in the UK. Do you know that? Yeah, it's pretty steep, isn't it? It's crazy. It's a bit, second gear. Yeah, it's almost like a bit spinny. Even first gear, actually, you have to go in when you go around the big bend. You don't. It's like a bit. You wouldn't really want to go up it in like a low-powered car, would you? No.
No, I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Because you're like high revs and low gears.
Yeah.
And there's no way else other way that you can get at that. As I said, it's called Porlock Hill. Research it. As I said, it's quite near where I live, but as I said, it's literally the most steep drivable hill in the entire UK. And it is weird driving up it because you almost feel like your car might tip back. Yeah, that's how steep
it's weird,
it is.
and it's right on a corner as well. It's like up this thing, and then the corner is really
windy.
steep as well, isn't it?
Really windy. So you have to almost like come to a stop at some bits. So you need to have your clutch skills down. Man. You need to have your clutch skills down.
Ride that clutch.
Yeah, but it's beautiful when you get to the top. It's like a beautiful drive, isn't it? And then you come to this amazing place called Linton and Lynmouth. And then it's just like, just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely
Linton and Lynmouth, it's like two towns, like one at the bottom of the hill and one at the top of the hill.
But you just call them Linton and Lynmouth, don't you? Usually. People just refer to them like the same, like both
Linton and Lynmouth, it's like, just two separate bits, but they're linked by this water-powered kind of pulley system that's like water-powered pulley train thing that you get on and just
you can
kind
go
of
up
go
and down.
Yeah, it's cool.
Beautiful place. But yeah, we should definitely go on that little day out. I said Exmoor Beast, that'd be cool. So I wonder if there is any little creatures of that. It'd be quite good to go on like a little cryptozoology adventure. And Pandora's box hunts down all the various cryptozoology creatures of the UK. Dun dun dun. After that, we can go and find Nessie.
Go and ride Nessie.
Yeah, we'll just go on a boat, and every time we see anything in the water, we'll just dive in.
Yeah,
just dive in and try and grapple it.
Capsize the boat.
Yeah. Anyway, we've come to the end of another Pandora's box. So quite a chill one today, just the two of us in the studio.
Chilled out.
Thanks for joining us. Hope that you've had a beautiful day, whatever you've been up to. And cheers for chilling us at Pandora's Box. We love you. As always, going to leave you on some tracks now. This is My Song by Jerry Cantrell.